Well. It's another great Friday night of the Denver Bronco Roundup, guys. Sorry we're a little late. I had a little bit of technical issues. Mr. Keith Bregman, hopefully he'll be joining us here pretty soon. But I am your host tonight, Trevor Salzman. Alongside me, we have the stepfather, Kenny Kirkpatrick, and one of my other co-hosts from the Four Horsemen, Jody Moncrief. Kenny, how you doing? And thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for the invite, Keith. I hope you can make it back with us. Always a pleasure to be with you guys on a Friday night. Finishing my little vacation that I've had. So what better way than spend it with my friends over at the Denver Bronco Roundup, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. And, it's not a Friday night on the DBR without the stepfather. So I really appreciate you joining us. And I also appreciate this other guy joining us tonight. We love having Jody around. Jody the judge, coming in, joining us on a Friday night. Jody, how's it going tonight on a great Friday night?
Football is finally back. Nothing can beat that. Two quarterbacks got paid a lot of money today, so good day for them, and ready to talk some Bronco football.
Absolutely. Again, busy day around the NFL. I know we have training camp coming in, for all these teams, all 32 teams. But again, contracts are coming in left and right. Two big quarterback names got paid today, Tua, and then we just got in we got Jordan Love that just got paid a couple hours ago, about an hour ago. That news came in. So great for those guys as always, and we shall see how they do. But how we're doing tonight, Mr. Ernie May is coming in, showing some love. Go Broncos country only. Hello, Keith and friends. Unfortunately, again, Keith can't be here tonight, but maybe he'll join us here in a little bit. Again, having a little bit of internet issues. We're waiting for him, so apologize for the wait, guys. But we are here regardless, no matter what time it is on a Friday night. We are going to be bringing you a show. Hopefully you guys, everybody can join us. But so we have got a little bit of news, the other day with Mr. Cortland Sutton, agreeing him and the Broncos coming to a happy medium, agreeing to a reworking of a contract that was per reports. Cortland Sutton is getting an extra $1.5 million in incentives, and that is that's tied to his receiving yards and the team improvement aspect of things. So again, guys, just we're obviously reacting to this on Friday night. It's been a day or so since this news came out. We kind of talked about the whole Cortland Sutton situation, how we're hoping there's a happy medium between both sides. But Kenny, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on Cortland Sutton being back in Denver? It seems like, at least for this year anyways, it sounds like him and the Broncos were able to find that happy medium finally, and just getting training camp underway, as the Broncos will be in pads on Monday. But just quickly, your thoughts on Cortland Sutton coming back and the Broncos figuring out this deal with Cortland.
I think it's a smart move for the Broncos. You need a veteran leader at each position group with the rookie quarterback. And there was none if it wasn't Cortland Sutton. You got Tim Patrick trying to rehab, his way back. You got Mims, young, Franklin, the rookie, Reynolds, never been a number one wide receiver. This needed to be done. I'm happy for Bronco fans that it's gotten done early. Now Knicks can get that connection. Pads start Monday, like you said. Now they can go out and learn this offense together. And Sutton can be that receiver. I know he was last year with Russell Wilson, can bring you guys that same 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown type of year, now that it's done early, which was very important to get finished. When after you get Jody's, if you want to read Phil's, but I do want to, on behalf of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, do want to thank him for sending 100 stars in his comment there, Trevor.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Really appreciate that, and we'll get to your question here after I get Jody's thoughts on Cortland Sutton. Jody, again, we talked about it, Cortland Sutton, and how important he is to this Broncos team and whoever the quarterback will be for the Broncos going forward. Your thoughts on Cortland Sutton and the Broncos agreeing to kind of restructuring of the contract. Again, the base salary nothing changed. It was just incentives. But just your thoughts on Cortland Sutton coming back to Denver. It seems like, at least for this year.
I really like the move. I think it keeps him motivated for the season, puts a little carrot in front of his face. He really is your only proven wide receiver on this roster. I mean, you did get Josh Reynolds, but he's new to the system. Cortland Sutton, 10 touchdowns, like Kenny said last year. That's pretty hard to replace. Whether you want to say Russ was locked in on him or not, he still was making catches. And I expect a big year from him now that, if all reports are true, Bo Nix can run the full playbook. Look for Nix to get him the ball deep and short, across the middle, different things. I expect a big year from Sutton.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and again, there was reports, guys, before we get off the Cortland Sutton topic here. There was reports the Broncos had actually originally offered Cortland Sutton about $1 million in incentives this offseason, but again, it sounds like he wanted a little bit more. But I think the Broncos made it pretty clear, I think, this offseason early on that, that they wanted Cortland Sutton back. It just, again, a little the money situation. These guys want to get paid, but Cortland Sutton's his incentives actually are being raised from $200,000 to $1.7 million in incentives. That's total, but it's a 1.5 bump for Cortland Sutton going forward. So that, I think, great news for both sides. I'm glad that both sides can agree to a happy medium, but not agreeing to a happy medium here, but always, appreciate setting stars and always being a support. One of our biggest supporters, Mr. Phil McLaughlin, coming in with a question and sending stars again. Thank you, Phil. Always appreciate you coming in and being part of the discussion, being part of the posse, and always, the support that you bring to us. We just really love it. Good evening. Phil says, good evening, Rocket Man, Judge, and Kenny. Do you think Bolles will get paid after camp or midseason, or will they let him go? Jody, I'll go to you first. Do you what's your thoughts on Garrett Bolles? Do you think that they're going to pay him before the season starts, or during the season, or maybe not at all?
I'm not exactly sure when they do it, but I think they get a deal done. Do I think Garrett Bolles is a top 1 to 3 left tackle? No, but Garrett Bolles is a solid top 10 left tackle in this league, and the days of Garrett holds and all that, they're long gone. He is very serviceable, and he's going to be very hard to replace if you let him go. You have a lot of holes on this roster, and you need playmakers, and you don't need to be making more holes with guys that are still, top 10 players. So I really hope they get a deal done with him and make him a Broncos for life. I also think, after listening to his comments today, I think you can get a hometown discount. He mentioned it multiple times. His family's here. They've put roots down in Denver. He wants to be a Broncos for life. Make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Garrett Bolles, again, have expressing his interest in wanting to be a Bronco and finish his career out as Denver Bronco. Kenny, from an outside perspective, does Garrett Bolles, do you think the Broncos are going to make any attempt to re-sign Garrett Bolles this season, or do you think that he's maybe can be a former Bronco as this season comes to an end?
That's a great question from Phil, and like Trevor said, always great to hear your questions. Even when I'm in the posse, I answer your questions, Phil. It's tough because it can go either way. I think if I had to pick a way it's going to go, I think he's going to get paid by what Phil's saying here in his question, mid-season to late season. And I say that because, unfortunately, the NFL is a business first, and the Broncos are a business. And you have a rookie quarterback coming in, a rebuild type of team in front of you. If this team, like we did rankings the other day, for those, check out our K&K show, we did rankings. The Broncos were dead last. And I'm doing this as a big if, because none of us said the Broncos are the worst team power ranking in the NFL. But if they were, I think you need to reevaluate your roster. So if you're mid-season, late season now and you're bad, you may not, unfortunately, you may see veterans move to another team and do a complete rebuild. But if this team is playing like we all think they could, at like around 500 or maybe slightly better, Bolles will get paid mid-season, late season. This is a business, And I don't think they want to do it now and commit. And then they realize, hey, we got to rebuild, and we're further behind than we thought we were. So I think the business is coming into this, and we'll see halfway through the season where we are. And unfortunately, that's the only way I can answer it. But if I had to guess, I would say mid-late season they get it done.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Some of his comments today kind of really struck me. And it's just like, well, he said, well, the front office knows I want to be here. The ball is in their core, per se. So it sounds like that he's made that known pretty early on that he wants to stay at Denver Bronco for whatever reason. And maybe they have discussed, a contract with his agent, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't gotten done at this point in time. I don't know if they think that there's an upgrade out there, and maybe they want to wait. Or they just want to wait and see if when the drop off happens with Garrett Bolles. I'm not sure, but there's a reason they just haven't got a contract done yet. And also, again, they've been pretty busy. They just got Quentin Myers, re-signed, and they have Pat Surtain that they're going to want to re-sign as well. We shall see, though. I think Garrett Bolles has got to be one of those guys that at top of the list that you want to try to re-sign and bring back, knowing, again, just like Jody said, the holes in this roster.
And real quick, to interject a little bit, and Jody will appreciate this because I'm bringing up Joe Alt, Jody's Notre Dame fan. The reason why I said you got to see where you are mid-season. If you are struggling, do you maybe go the younger route in the draft and get the top left tackle and pair him up with Bo Nix for the next 10 years and hope you hit with the top offensive tackle in the draft next year? That might be why the reason he's not paid yet. They want to see where they are after about 7 or 8 games this season, because if you can get younger out of position and get that best player in that position, Bolles will be the blocker. So if blocking that from getting that top pick because you're going to in a numbers game. So that might be the reason why. Well, it's a great question from Phil. And something I think that we would definitely need to answer again after like week 6, week 7 of the season.
And I'd like to see what he with a true pocket quarterback, unlike Russ. How many times did Russ put them in bad positions? Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing. But then also they've invested in this O-line, a lot of money. And you're going to now go on the cheap at the most important position. Yeah. And I'm just – you got to get weapons around Bo Nix. Your tight end room is scarce. You have a lot of unknowns at wide receiver. Next year, whether Bo Nix pans out and you win 8, 9, 10 games, whatever, you need playmakers still. And I think that I don't like going in and having to draft a left tackle and not getting playmakers for Bo Nix next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
How old is Bolles, if you don't mind me asking?
I think he's 30. What are you, 30? 31,
I think.
Okay, yeah. So he's over 30. So yeah, they might want to go, if they're rebuilding, Jody, if you can get the top tackle in the draft, you might look that way if you're doing really bad. So
I get left tackles. They're just kind of playing later in their careers nowadays with technology growing and getting better. Look at Trent Williams. I mean, he's 36, 37 years old, and he's still playing in the league, and he wants a new contract. So I just think that I think the Broncos are waiting for that drop off, but I don't know if that drop off is going to be anytime soon. And so I just don't know. I mean, and there's a chance if he plays, well this year and he has a Pro Bowl caliber year, he may ask for even more money. So that's the same thing with Surtain. So that's why I say it's kind of, in some ways, it's better to lock these guys up now. And, the guys that are producing for you instead of waiting because they're going to cost you more down the line. And I agree with Jody. They need playmakers around Bo Nix. I don't know that you want to pair Bo Nix, with a rookie left tackle as well, because we all know the rookie left tackles, because we went through it with Garrett Bolles, they do struggle early on in their careers to learn and kind of grasp with the NFL compared to where they were at in college as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with Garrett Bolles going forward, but I'm not sure if they're going to get agreed to a deal earlier or not. Same thing with Pat Surtain, although with Pat Surtain, with him, you have that 5th-year option. You have that security blanket. Garrett Bolles, it's this year, either he's back or he's not, and this is his final year of his contract. And also he has no guaranteed money left. That's something that we have to bring up as well. What we talked about with Cortland Sutton, he has very little guaranteed money up. Garrett Bolles has none. So It'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. Mr. Phil McLaughlin has another question for us as well.
Yes, another 100 stars. So thank you again, Phil, from the Rocky Mountain Sports Network.
Yeah. So again, thank you, Phil, once again. Really appreciate everything that you do for us here at DBR and at Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Phil comes in with this question. I am worried about safety. More injuries today. Where is our depth? Jody, I'll go to you first with this. Again, Brandon Jones ended up going down with a hamstring injury today at training camp. No pads on yet. No pads are on yet. Brandon Jones is going down with an injury. We've talked about it pretty extensively. This is a guy that struggled to stay on the field. You have many injury issues in the backfield. JL Skinner's also hurt. What's your kind of overall thoughts? Where's your worry meter with Brandon Jones and with this safety room? It seems like it's going relatively thin pretty early on.
I'm not too concerned yet with Brandon Jones. The guy I'm more worried about is Caden Stearns. And listening to Sean Payton, it doesn't sound like he's really that close with the knee yet.
Yeah,
that is the guy that I'm more worried about. I think that it's from what I heard today, it sounded like this is just a day-to-day. So I'm hoping that that's what it is. There's still a lot of time left in camp. Brandon Jones is going to be on this team, and he's going to play a lot, whether people like that or not. So I'm not worried there. I'm more worried with Caden Stearns because I think he was in a battle to start with PJ Locke. If you have no depth now, you almost have no depth, especially with Stearns and Turner Yell, both safeties on the PUP.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jody.
I guess the only good thing is hopefully JL Skinner can, take that second-year leap and hopefully turn some heads like PJ Locke did.
Yeah, they're going to need it in a big way, and it's very concerning already, though, that the safety room is it seems like it's running pretty thin, and we haven't even been in pads yet. We obviously know with the injury with Caden Stearns, it was going to be a setback. It's going to be a while before he's back, but Brandon Jones already getting hurt when he already has a pretty extensive past in the history of being hurt. It's one of those big risks that they took when they signed him. Yes, you want to get younger within the safety group and in the backfield, but knowing that he hasn't played more than 13 games in his career in an NFL season, I think it is a concern. Kenny, your thoughts on Brandon Jones' injury, and are you concerned with this Broncos safety room, considering what you have heard so far of them? Seems like running pretty thin already in the safety room.
Brandon Jones, I am concerned about injury history, and you're not even in pads, and you're already sitting out of practices. So definitely concerned about that. And like Phil, if I was a Bronco fan, I would be worried about my safety position right now. You're a team that's been in a lot of positions, and now you got to add safety to that list. I will say, keep an eye out. It is training camp. Keep an eye out not only for the Broncos, for anybody standing out that can step up now. They get, next man up mentality, and they step it up. They get that chance, and they never look back. Or look on other rosters too, because there will be some surprise cuts, because there will be some surprise players that beat out the veterans, and the veterans, to save some money, they release them. So keep an eye out for safeties that get cut off of other teams. And even if you use them as special team players as well, special teams are going to be very important, but look out. Safety is definitely a worry. I would definitely look about bringing in somebody on the outside, look for some cuts, and look for the numbers, the guys, the next man up players that nobody's really talking about yet that stand out and take over, because that could happen.
Go ahead, Jody. Jody's going to say something.
Would you be making the call? There's a well-known safety on the free agent market that Denver knows about. Would you have made that call already?
Go ahead, Kenny.
Justin Simmons, right?
Yeah.
I would, but there's a reason they're not. And I actually heard that, the rumors are, and it's all rumors, but I think Justin Simmons is agent. Players are smart. Like these players that haven't signed yet, wait until season starts, somebody gets hurt, and they go to a playoff team. Mostly see that with quarterback. Ryan Tannehill hasn't signed with anybody yet. Watch him sign when a quarterback goes down and he goes to a playoff roster. playoff contender and goes. But safety, I would with Justin Simmons for sure. But the Broncos aren't, and it's a ego thing. I don't want to say that word, but it is. That they release Simmons. How bad does it look if they re-sign him now and he performs well? It makes them look bad.
Well, and I want to mention that Sean Payton did say, he was asked this today. What's the, what was the reason basically for releasing Justin Simmons? Not just with the money situation. He said, well, we want to get younger in the backfield. We want to get younger in the safety room. So, for me, Justin Simmons is 30 years old. I don't know that I see Denver going after Justin Simmons right now when, Sean Payton made it pretty clear that he wants to go younger at safety. Again, I don't think they're overly young there, but they're a lot younger than what they were with Justin. And I also think that Justin Simmons is probably going to want to go elsewhere to compete for a Super Bowl. I don't think the Broncos are in a position right now where they're going to be competing for Super Bowl right now, let alone hopefully the playoffs. Hopefully they will again, but I just don't know that I see that reunion happening. I love Justin Simmons. I would love him back in Denver, but I don't know that I see Justin Simmons being back with the Broncos.
And just looking at the list, there's another guy on that list. Didn't he play for the Broncos too? Kareem Jackson's still out there.
Yeah, but Kareem, he's just later part of his career. Again, he's older than Justin, right. So I just don't see them bringing him back.
All these guys on this list are older, so you may have to think about it. Micah Hyde, Quandre Diggs, and Tayshaun Gibson, just to name a couple more that are on the list that may be getting a call to come into for a visit.
Yeah. Jody, your mic's muted. There you go.
I found that comment kind of strange when he said get younger in the backfield when Levi Wallace will be almost 30, and he was the first cornerback he went and signed. I mean, that isn't getting younger in the backfield.
Yeah, I think Levi Wallace. I think they prefer Riley Moss to play, but I think Levi Wallace is their safety blanket in case Riley Moss isn't the guy. And from what I heard, Levi Wallace is a guy that's also starting to stand out to everybody else as well. So Riley Moss really got to start stepping up, or it will be Levi Wallace. And maybe, just maybe, if Riley Moss, again, they invested into him, trading up for him, maybe they will move him over to safety eventually. I'm not saying right now because I don't think they have any interest in doing that right now. Down the line, maybe you do see a guy like Riley Moss move over to safety if Levi Wallace is playing a lot better just at cornerback, because I think you'd rather have and get some sort of production out of Riley Moss if you think he can play safety than get no production out of him at all and have him just sit on the bench. So just something going forward just to think about. But us not thinking about it, we have somebody that we need to say hello to. More people in the posse you need to say hello to. Mr. Mark Calderio. Good evening, gentlemen. What is up? What is up, Mark? Really appreciate you joining us.
Good friend of mine and good friend of K&K's, Mark Calderio. What's up, Mark? Fellow Giant fan. Now, real quick, guys, I will give you a name, and Mark's not going to like this because I don't want to lose him neither, but we drafted a safety, Tyler Nubin, in the draft. If you guys remember, we did our draft show, ranked the best safety in the draft. So we have a little depth there. And we also drafted a guy a couple years ago, Dane Belton, who's been stuck in a numbers game. Guy's a hard hitter, played in the Big Ten, Iowa. Very young. I think he's 24, 25 years old. Wouldn't be surprised if a call would maybe come out for a trade too. Give up a 5th-round pick, maybe a 6th-round pick, and it's a numbers game. And the Giants move on from Dane Belton so they can get Tyler Nubin some play. Just a thought, just a team out there, because I follow the Giants, an idea also that could be in play for safety as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I think that Broncos are going to have to look at all options at this point. I'm not ready to hit the panic button with Brandon Jones, but I do think it is concerning that he's getting hurt already because of his history of getting hurt. But I do think that they'll probably stick with what they have. I think Jalen Skinner will be back. I don't think Caden Stearns, like what Jody said, and what Sean Payton was mentioning about Caden Stearns, I don't think he's going to be back in anytime soon. As of right now, again, things can always change in the NFL. But I do think they'll start getting some more depth guys back, and I don't think they want to. I think they have big plans for Brandon Jones. That was one of their biggest free agency signings. I think that you want to try to give him every possibility to start. PJ Locke, you brought him back. That was a guy that I think that's important to Sean Payton, and he really earned a spot on this team, I think, last year. So we shall see when it ends up coming up. But real quick, Jody, is there any concern that you have with any of the other injuries in training camp. Again, we mentioned with Stearns, Turner, Yell, Watson, Nick Bonitto. I know he's supposed to practice tomorrow. Also the guard, Garguilo. Are you concerned with anybody else injured that is injured at this point in time? Going into future training camp practices.
I'm not really. The one that really, like I said, that really worries me is Caden Stearns.
Yeah,
It sounds like he's not close, and if I had to guess, he probably starts the season on probably the short-term IR. Missed the first 4 weeks. And that was if he wasn't starting, he was going to be your number 3 safety for sure, and going to play a decent amount. So that's the one I'm the most worried about. I like Denver's depth at outside linebacker, and there's plenty of time left. I think Bonitto will be back and he'll be fine. So Stearns is the one for me.
Yeah, Stearns is the one for me as well. Kenny, I mean, any of those names that I listed off, I know Blake Watson's there as well. Turner Yell has that meniscus in his left knee that he tore. Caden Stearns is rehabbing from his torn patella that he suffered last year. Nick Bonitto had the calf injury. He will be practicing tomorrow. And then Blake Watson with the slight leg muscle tweak. Are you concerned about any of those guys? And of course, add in Brandon Jones is there as well. I know that you said you were concerned with Brandon Jones' injury, but does any of those other guys stand out to you as issues and maybe more problematic for the Broncos going forward?
The guys you mentioned, obviously Caden Stearns, but I'll throw one in a different direction. I'm going to say Blake Watson, not because I expected him, not because, he's going to make the start, take over Javonte Williams, beat Estime out. No, because a lot of Bronco fans had some hopes that this guy would make the team and contribute somewhere. And so that would be concerning for me, for his perspective at looking at things. And he just got drafted by the Memphis Showboats in the UFL in the second round. So concerning, not really answering the question the way you phrased it, but concerning that he's not going to make the team because of this injury. Blake Watson would be my answer to answer that.
I think his injury might be a blessing in disguise because it might allow you to stash him on the practice squad.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think so as well. And just it doesn't sound like it's too too serious of an injury, but again, this is a guy that needs to try to make this roster. Remember, Kenny, you mentioned that he got drafted. Was it in the AFL that he got drafted? Pretty high.
UFL, XFL are combined, but the Memphis Showboats picked them up in the second round, so that's to watch out for too. They didn't waste a late pick on him.
Yeah,
picked him up in their second round of the draft. So
yeah,
maybe there's some inside talk between the two teams, the Broncos and the Showboats. The GM, and George Payton, and maybe they're taking a chance that he doesn't make the Bronco team. And I don't know the rule there. If you're on a practice squad, can you play in the UFL? Or I don't know that rule. I would have to go into look at that one. But I know if you're not on a roster, you can obviously play in the UFL, but you can't play on both rosters, from what I know.
Do you think it's a problem that his injury was a NFI injury, non-contact or non-football injury? I'm just saying, with maybe Denver tries to do something, come after him for it. Like what they did with Ryan Clady when he got hurt playing basketball and stuff.
I would say if he was Bo Nix, they would come after him, but it's Blake Watson. I think they'll look the other way and say, "Oh, you know what? Thanks for trying out, Blake, but it's not, unfortunately, in a numbers game here, and you're number 5 on our list, so we're gonna let you go at this time. We wish you the best. Hopefully, you can find another job in the NFL. Best of luck to you."
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do. That serious where they try to go after him for it, because I don't think it's gonna be serious enough for them to go after him for it. I think he'll be missed maybe a couple practices, but this is a guy that I think can't afford to miss practices because he needs to make the team. And you already have so many running backs on this roster. With Javonte Williams, the hype on Javonte Williams right now seems like he's no brainer to make this roster at this point in time. Which again, we kind of thought anyways. He was a former second round draft pick. Denver already has put all their chips in that basket. I don't think they're going to cut Javonte right now unless he just looked really horrible out there. Jaleel McLaughlin, I think you could kind of pencil him in there as well in that running back room. So you're starting to kind of, as time goes on, you're starting to get some of these other guys that are starting to get penciled in. Look at P. Ryan, look at, estimate that the other guys are trying to fight for roster spots in this roster. So, as we go along, I do expect more roster spots to start trickling on down. So, that being said, Blake Watson, I think, there's a shot he can make this roster. So I do think he needs to be there and be ready. And I don't think it's going to be that serious of an injury for him going forward. But guys, I think we're going to get to a sponsorship right here, and then we'll go through and analyze the quarterback situation. Some of the stuff that we've been hearing from Broncos camp up to this point, and then we will go through and get Phil's comment as well on this question. So let me get the sponsorship up, and then we'll roll with the show. I got to pull it up. I apologize, guys. I didn't think I was gonna have to host tonight. But let me talk to you about Morgan Trinkets, our wonderful sponsor. With over 33 years of experience, they are headquarters for Southwest Pottery and Jewelry, as well as an estate gold and at wholesale prices. Started in 1990, once a nationwide company. Now they do shows exclusively in northern Colorado, southern Wyoming. All their gold is real gold, 10, 14, or 18 karat gold. All their silver is sterling silver. How do you find Morgan Trinkets? On Facebook by searching Morgan Trinkets today. If you watch Morgan Trinkets at one of their shows, they will take all major credit cards. On Facebook, they take PayPal, and all orders are shipped free over $50. Check out Morgan Trinkets. That's Morgan Trinkets on Facebook today. Thank you, Miss Pearl, and thank you, Morgan Trinkets, for sponsoring our shows. We really appreciate you, and just want to, again, continue to embrace the brand and really appreciate Pearl for everything that she's done supporting the show. We got Mr. Ernie Mays coming here. Broncos will win 10 or more wins this season. Go Broncos country only. Ernie, we really surely hope that's the case. But, again, we love Mr. Aaron Mays and his positivity for us. But got Mr. Phil McLaughlin coming here asking us another great question. Phil, really appreciate you and everything that you do for our shows. Says, guys, do you think after camp there will be some vets available that could help us fill some holes, even if for depth? What positions do you think we most need? Jody, I'll go to you first.
Middle linebacker for me. It's the thinnest position on this team. I'm not a huge Justin Sternard fan, and he's really the only guy you have as a backup, really. I think, well, whoever wins that second spot, I don't like our middle linebacker depth, and I think at some point, unless Jonas Griffith is the guy 2 years ago that had Alex Singleton beat out, you're going to have to address that position.
Kenny, from an outside perspective, what holes do you see and what positions do you see this team needing the most? Oh, Kenny, you're muted. Oh, you're still muted. It looks like Kenny's having some auto difficulties.
I unplugged the mic.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
My elbow hit the wire there. Sorry about that. No, I agree with Jody. Definitely. But I would say also on the defensive line, got to keep not the defensive line, but you got to keep an eye on the secondary. Not just safety, but corner. Levi Wallace, like you said, is your starting corner. I would look to see if there's anybody who's released at corner, or even think about picking up another veteran. Patrick Peterson's out there, a couple names, but look to see who gets cut. Like I said, these veterans may get beat out by a surprise rookie or young player, and you can get somebody, and the veteran incumbent making a couple more $1 million to save money. They go that route. So corner, safety would be the whole secondary as a whole would be my area to look for.
Yeah, for me, again, I think inside linebacker is a situation where they need to continue to, look and see what they have. I like what Jonas Griffith has to offer. Cody Barton, I'm just not a big fan of that signing, and I just don't think that he really does much for you. Again, I think that stopping the run maybe, but coverage-wise, I think he's going to get beat, and I think he's going to get beat every time. Jonas Griffith, I think, gives you the best shot at being that coverage inside linebacker. I just don't know that you can sit there and rely upon him when he hasn't played in 2 years and has had major injuries. I think you want to try to get more depth. I think inside linebacker makes a lot of sense for this team. Again, safety just depends on what you have with Turner Yell. If Brandon Jones continues to get hurt, you're going to have to look there at some point in time. And again, I think it also depends on what free agents become available, are the upgrades compared to what you have on this roster, and then the injuries that you have, because again, these injuries are only starting. Unfortunately, that's just the sad part of football is injuries do happen. I'm afraid going forward, we're probably still going to see more injuries. Again, hopefully they're not any serious ones, but it is the game of football. So going forward, we're definitely going to have to keep that in mind, that there might be some other injuries that happen that we don't know of right now that they're going to have to replace, on the free agency market and stuff like that going forward. So just something to keep in mind going forward. But I do think inside linebacker makes a lot of sense. Safety room makes a lot of sense as well, depending on what happens with Brandon Jones and some of these other guys that are on your roster currently. All right, guys, let's go into kind of evolve in the quarterback room a little bit. Kenny, I don't know if you've heard too much about the quarterback room up to this point, but Jody, your overall thoughts from the quarterback room, what you're hearing. Again, it doesn't really sound like anybody's standing out as it stands right now. Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham. Kind of seems like every day we're hearing a different name merging as, oh, this guy had a good day this day. It's a different guy the next day. There's no consistent there. Your just overall thoughts, the quarterback room. Are you worried at all about where we're at in this quarterback room right now? Again, 3 days in a training camp, I understand that, but there's got to be some concern with the lack of production, the lack of consistency that we've not seen from these guys up to this point.
I'm not concerned yet. We're still in shorts and we're not even in pads yet. Probably the most frustrating for me is Stidham seems like he may be the most steady, but it's not by very much. And I think he's just taking away reps from the ultimate outcome of Bo Nix starting the season. I don't, everyone wants to say, well, you need this veteran leadership. Well, to be honest, he's started less games than Zach Wilson. So yes, he's been in the league longer, but Zach Wilson has started more games. So who's the real veteran? I think if Peyton were smart, I think he needs to say Bo Nix is the guy, and he needs give Bo Nix all the reps that he can get. And you drafted him at 12. Everyone knows where this is going. Stidham does nothing. Even if you start him, it's a waste of reps for Bo Nix. It's not the same as Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Favre or Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. Those are future Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Jarrett Stidham is never going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. Kenny, your thoughts as an outside perspective, your thoughts on the Broncos quarterback room. I know you're not very high on Bo Nix, but can't imagine we're going to be very high on Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham either.
No, and you know what, though? I want to be wrong on Bo Nix.
Yeah.
But I feel I'm right with Sean Payton. And you know what? I think this is a marriage that may get divorced real soon because I don't like what Sean Payton's doing. And Sean Payton's never had a rookie quarterback start for him. And he's hesitant on naming a starter. Every other team that picked a quarterback in this first round, if they're starting or if they're starting the year on the bench. And that includes Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, all the way to Bo Nix. No, not Bo Nix, Caleb Williams. That includes Jaden Daniels, both starting, named starters. Drake May starting on the bench, only 21 years old. So I had no problem with the Patriots doing that, letting them learn. And then, of course, Penix and McCarthy are both starting the year on the bench too. Bo Nix, we don't know what's going on. Well, what are you doing, Sean? Let us know. Because my question, if Sean Payton was right here, I want to know one thing, Sean. Is this a rebuild season, or do you believe we can make the playoffs, be a playoff contender? Because if you can believe we're a playoff contender, then you're telling me Jarrett Stidham gives us the best chance to win. I'll accept that. But if you tell us we're in a rebuild or semi-rebuild, you want to get younger is what you said with other positions, right? Well, you want to get younger at quarterback too. And Nix, even though I have my doubts with him, he needs to be the starting quarterback day one, hands down, because I do believe it's a semi-rebuild. I don't think it's a full rebuild. Yeah. And you start that semi-rebuild with your quarterback. You released the star quarterback that you brought in a couple years ago to get you to the Super Bowl. You released him. So time to move on. Starting quarterback, Bo Nix, day one, should be announced weeks ago. Announce it tomorrow, Sean. Announce it tomorrow. I hope somebody out there can be at training camp to yell to Sean Payton and get it in his head. Bo needs to start.
Yeah, go ahead, Jody.
In my opinion, too, I seen all I needed to see the last 2 games of the year from Stidham against really 2 trash teams, and he did nothing, and it was not good. If you were so high on Stidham, why did you waste the number 12 pick on a quarterback? Why didn't you get Stidham weapons and build around him? Stidham is still young. You don't have all the faith in Stidham, so stop wasting reps on Stidham and Wilson and let Bo Nix get the reps. And I've said before, Bo Nix was not the guy I wanted, but from what everyone said and what Peyton says, he's this book smart guy and he fits this offense to a T. So in Peyton, I trust. So, but you've got to get him reps. Watching him sit behind Stidham every other day or every third day does nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree, Joe. I agree, Jody, and that's the thing. I think one of the reasons I think Sean Payton took a chance on Bo Nix is because of his floor. I think he has a higher floor. I think of all these quarterbacks in this last draft, I think he has one of the higher floors. I think along with Penix, where he can, I think, start day one and be the guy. Can learn the playbook pretty quickly. He's played some in college. He played a lot of games, right? He was one of the highest quarterbacks that played collegiate games that he's played. So I think that he's a guy that maybe is not completely polished. I think he's more polished than the guy, like JJ McCarthy. That's why I was high on Bo Nix, why I mocked him to the Broncos for months. I didn't have them picking him at 12, of course, but I still liked what he could do in the Sean Payton offense. But I'm on the worry meter. I'm not too worried about this quarterback room. Again, we're still early in training camp, just 3 days. I agree with Jody. They haven't been in pads yet. We need to see, them in pads. And, I just think that maybe a week from now, if we're still talking about, the quarterbacks not being in a good situation, they're just not looking very good. No one's really, starting to see that separation from any of these guys. I think maybe then the panic meter starts going up just a little bit more because, again, you've given these guys time to learn the playbook. You've given these guys time to gain some momentum with some of these weapons, some of these wide receivers, that I think that you can make that argument. But right now, 3 days into it, I'm not ready to use that panic meter yet. I will say I do agree Bo Nix needs to be the guy that starts day one. I don't care if it's in Seattle or not. It doesn't matter to me. He's played in a lot of different environments. I think it's good for him to start week one. I think if you're starting Jarrett Stidham, it's kind of like, well, we're still in that predicament where we're starting a different quarterbacks, and you're never going to be able to get that consistency that you're going to need with Bo Nix and the wide receivers. You took Bo Nix 12th overall for a reason. If you believed in Jarrett Stidham or even Zach Wilson, why did you take Bo Nix 12th overall? There's clearly a reason you took Bo Nix. That's the guy I think you have to roll with. If he's not ready, then I think there is something to be concerned about. And what we're talking about, him being out, sitting out 3 games, and then he's the starter week 3, week 4. I mean, it's just something where I don't think that you can continue to have this quarterback carousel throughout the whole season. To have one guy, stick to that guy, and let him marinate in this offense and continue to get better with this football team, going forward. So, interesting stuff from training camp up to this point. There's a little bit of frustration with these quarterbacks just not being able to emerge yet, but I'm not ready to just, go panic button just yet. Mr. Ernie May says safety and linebacker is his concerns and what the Broncos should be looking at in the free agency market. Ernie Mays, that's absolutely possible. Mr. Phil McLaughlin coming in with another question. Thank you again, Phil. What team drafts a first-round quarterback and not start him when you don't have a Pro Bowl quarterback on the team? Jody, I mean, that's what we were just talking about. But would you be concerned if Sean Payton didn't start Bo Nix? Would you be concerned about Bo Nix overall going forward? If, again, Sean Payton invested in him with the 12th overall pick, would you be concerned if he wasn't the starter week 1?
I would be, especially if Bo Nix doesn't, puke all over himself in preseason. If he goes out there and just puts up decent numbers, because everything Sean Payton said, he's supposed to be miles ahead of every other rookie quarterback, and he regurgitates all this, the playbook and stuff. Well, why are you not playing him then if he does all this stuff? You fed us this line, and then you started Stidham, who we seen last year wasn't it the last 2 games.
Yeah, Kenny, your thoughts just quickly on a first round quarterback. You invest in that. We've seen that, and the investment with Sean Payton. Would you be concerned if Bo Nix didn't start week 1 for the Broncos?
Yes, I would. I would definitely be. And just the Patriots, they drafted a young quarterback, Drake May, 21 years old, and McCarthy for the Vikings are 21 years old. So that's okay to sit them and let them get some NFL experience on the sidelines watching games. Bo Nix is 25. He's going to be going on 26 when the season starts. You sit behind Stidham, and I'll come back with a question for both of you guys. Tom Coughlin said it best when it was a 16-game season, 4 quarters to the season. Stidham starts first quarter. Broncos get off to a hot start, winning ugly games, 3-1, 2-2. Are you now bringing in Bo Nix after a hot start? No, right? Now you go to the second quarter and the same thing, a 2-2. So now you're 5-3 or 4-4. Maybe, but you still might go with Stidham because you're still winning games. What does that do to Bo Nix now? So now you're in the third quarter. He's losing at least a half a season, if not more, because you don't bring him into third quarter. And then here comes the struggles with the Broncos, and now Bo Nix gets 3 or 4 games? What's that going to do for him in 2025? So, yes, he needs to start day one, and if he doesn't, and then the questions need to start going to Sean Payton by far, because if that was the plan to not automatically give him the job, you could have easily went a different route in this draft and worry about quarterback later on in the draft or next year, either free agency again or through the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And I again, for me, at the very least, and I've said this multiple times, I'll continue to pound that table. The Broncos need to figure out what to have with Bo Nix, because going forward, he's on his rookie contract. You have to take advantage of that if he's the guy, so you can start building around him. If you give him 3 or 4 games, that's unacceptable, because that's not, to me, a large enough sample size, and nor is that fair to Bo Nix. Now, I'm all about making Bo Nix earn the starting job. I don't just want to hand that to him, per se. I'm all about that. But again, you're taking him with the idea of, high in the draft in the first round, 12th overall. You're taking him that high with the idea of he's going to start sooner rather than later for us. I mean, again, I know what Drake May, it's a different situation. You have Brissett there. With J.J. McCarthy, you have Sam Darnold in Minnesota. So, but right now, you don't have a guy like that. I mean, Jarrett Stidham isn't, going to blow your socks off as far as a quarterback. He's not a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's not even close to that. He's been a backup most of his career. And I agree with Jody. We haven't seen a lot from Jarrett Stidham. I wasn't impressed with him last year but again, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I want Bo Nix to have to earn the starting job. I don't want to hand it to him, but it doesn't look good if he doesn't earn that, especially before week 1. I think you got to give him as many games as possible for you to see the sample size of Bo Nix. I don't want to see a Drew Lock type of situation where you're going to play him 3 or 4 games, last 3 or 4 games of the season, and then you're going into year 2, still questions about him. There shouldn't be no questions about Bo Nix. Either he's the guy or he's not year 1. No more questions about it.
See, if I could just respectfully disagree on one thing, and then Jody, I'd love your thoughts on it too, because you were a huge Russell Wilson guy. Sean Payton made the decision to move on from Russell Wilson. This job needs to be, Bo Nix, you're my guy that I drafted. You're the guy I'm going to war with. Hands down. There shouldn't be any questions. You released a quarterback and gave up $80 million in dead cap to draft a quarterback at 12, and he's not even named the starting quarterback. That's a bad look for Sean Payton. I'm sorry. And it's a bad look for Bo Nix if the longer this goes, because if this goes until the preseason, I'm sorry, like it's starting to look more and more like a question mark. Was this a good move to get Bo Nix? Because we can't even beat out Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham, and we're in preseason now. So that'd be my question, Jody. Do you agree? It's got to be him to give him the job now. You got the job. It's your job to lose once the season starts if you play that bad.
Well, yeah, I agree that it needs to be Bo Nix day one. He needs the reps. The only way that I don't start Bo Nix is, and from all reports, it's not happening so far, is if you get number 2 Zach Wilson. He's got the best arm, he's got the most talent, and if you somehow hit lightning in a bottle and get number 2 Zach Wilson, then I'm fine starting Zach Wilson, but that's not happening. So it needs to be Bo Nix. You drafted him. Play him. Playing Stidham does nothing. What's he going to learn from Stidham? Bad habits?
Yeah.
Well, again, the history you guys had since Peyton Manning at quarterback, if he's not starting week 1, I'm starting to think I'm not a outside perspective. I'm starting to think this is another failure before he even gets a snap in a regular game.
See, and I don't want another Drew Lock of he doesn't play and then he comes in and looks good for the last five weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you bring in another vet and he starts over him because you're not winning games. And now Sean Payton thinks his seat's hot, so he doesn't know if he can roll with Nix. And then you need to roll with Nix, and ownership needs to know that this is a process. And I give Nix 2 years, unless it's just completely bad, like the dude that was drafted in Arizona a few years ago. If it's bad like that, that's one thing. But if Nix is showing flashes and things, you need to develop him. You're supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. Prove it.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to get some of the comments, guys, because, again, really appreciate you guys sticking with us, everybody in the posse tonight. And our apologies that we went on live a little bit later than we expected. But, again, I have this one question for you guys with Sean Payton. So he talks about wanting to compete this season. Are you guys worried about where this roster's at right now? Right, they're building this roster. They're rebuilding it in a way. Again, not a total teardown, but a rebuild. That's the word that we've been using. Are you worried about Sean Payton wanting to compete now, so much so now that let's just say he sits Bo Nix, Jared Stidham is starter week 1. Are you worried about Sean Payton's competitiveness with this team right now getting in the way of maybe the future of this roster? Jody, I'll start with you first.
No, other than if he starts Stidham, but everywhere else, no, because a lot of this team was here last year. I mean, you've got a top 10 O-line, in my opinion. Running backs are back. Hopefully Javante's healthy, second year off that knee injury. I like our wide receiver room. Fingers crossed Greg Dulcich can stay healthy. And on defense, I think what we lost, I think we more than improved with our D-line. I like Jonas Griffith if he can stay healthy. So, yeah, I don't – and with what Sean Payton did, look, we won 8 games last year. Could have been more with Russell Wilson, a quarterback that at times I felt like he was trying to sabotage. He was not running stuff that helped this team. He did what he could to make Russ look bad, in my opinion. So now he's got a guy in there that he wants to look good. So, yeah, I think we can compete at playoffs. I don't know, but I don't see why 7, 8, maybe 9 wins is not possible. I don't see why that can't happen.
Yeah, Kenny, I'll ask you the same question. Are you concerned with Sean Payton's competitiveness getting in the way of this team's future going forward? Because I don't think Sean Payton is in risk of getting fired this year, regardless. But I do have concern that, hey, he may sit a guy in order to compete now, just like he did this past season, where he didn't trade Jerry Jeudy or Justin Simmons, and you got relatively nothing back for those guys. That's why I bring this question up. Are you concerned with Sean Payton's competitiveness getting this team's way of building this team for the future?
I'll tell you what, I didn't know he said that. And, that has me concerned. And it has me concerned because of the word compete. Yeah, everybody wants to compete. You're a professional sports team in any sport. You want to compete. And that has me concerned because being that said, yeah, you're going to compete. You have a roster that's going to compete. You also have a rookie quarterback. And most rookie quarterbacks are going to go through growing pains. Does he not want to start? Is he questioning and waiting this out because he wants to compete? And compete means Jarrett Stidham is a veteran. He's not going to make as many maybe he won't make those mental mistakes and play the safe route and play games in the teens and low 20s as opposed to taking risks because he wants to compete. All right. I want to be a playoff contender. I want to be a contender should have been his words, not compete. Compete has me worried that this Bo Nix thing may stretch out longer than anticipated. And I hate to be that person that says it on here, Trevor, but that has me a little concerned, the word compete.
Yeah.
I want to be a competitor. We want to be a playoff caliber team. That's what it should have been his words, not compete. Compete is a scary word.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up, because, again, Sean Payton, the general manager, it worries me because I think coaches and general managers have a different eye. I think that, again, George Payton's thinking for the future. Again, he wants to win now, of course, but your eyes more towards the future. Sean Payton wants to win now. I know they didn't invest a ton in some of the free agents and pickups they did this year, but I just, again, go back to last season at the trade deadline when I was saying maybe you should trade Jerry Jeudy, maybe you should trade Justin Simmons if you don't think you can compete, but you have to kind of separate the two. I think if you get so much caught up into competing right now, when maybe your roster isn't ready, you can really cost your team down the line. I think that's what happened with Justin Simmons and Jerry Jeudy, clearly, because I think you could have gotten at least something decent, I think, for those guys. Again, you got something for Jerry Jeudy, but Justin Simmons you just released. So that's why I bring it up going forward. I have my eye on Sean Payton, the general manager, because that's something to worry about going forward. But I want to get into the comments, guys, before we log off tonight. I've got Mr. Dan Wilkett coming in. Good evening to all. DBR for life. Denver Broncos for life. Sorry. Dan, again, appreciate you coming in, joining us late. Again, we went on a little bit later, but really appreciate everybody that's stuck by us and is continuing to comment and be here for us tonight. Ernie Mays says, I believe in the Broncos. We all should. And I believe Mr. Ernie Mays has a birthday today, according to Phil. By the way, guys, happy birthday to Ernie Mays. Ernie, happy birthday. He's got the
laughing emoji. So if it is your birthday, Ernie, happy 23rd birthday to you, my friend.
Absolutely, Ernie.
And many more.
Yeah, absolutely, Ernie. If this really is your birthday, just wanted to say happy birthday from all of us here at Bronco Roundup. Really appreciate you. You're part of that Roundup royalty. Love having you part of the show. We really wanted to highlight you. And again, happy birthday. If it is truly your birthday, maybe Phil is pulling our leg there too. We don't know. Ernie says, we had Russell Wilson. We laid an egg. That's history. We will be awesome this year. Just Bo leave. Absolutely, Ernie. We definitely want to Bo leave in Bo Nix.
And you know what, Trevor, real quick, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good.
Every fan base needs fans like Mr. Mays. I mean, he believes that's who you want to be as a fan. You true fan there and Mr. Mays. And no matter who you root for, you should be a fan like Mr. Ernie Mays. He's always comes in with positive thoughts and truly a Bronco fan. You can see that every time I'm in the chat and not just live. I see that from not just Ernie, but all your audience members. So definitely want to shout that out.
It is indeed Mr. Ernie Mays' birthday. I really appreciate you, Ernie Mays. Again, like Kenny said, can't echo that enough. Just so amazing, person, and just everything you bring to our posse. Again, just it wouldn't be the same without you. So really appreciate you. And Phil says, yes, it is his B-Day. Well, Phil, thank you for letting us know. We really appreciate it. We thought you might have been pulling our leg a little bit there, but really do appreciate the information. We want to give all praise to our fans, and as always, so just thank you again for Phil for letting us know. And Phil has a question to kind of wrap up the show, guys. Phil says, is there a center also a possible free agent pickup? Jody, I'll go to you. Is there any center that you're looking at right now that is maybe a free agent pickup for the Broncos?
I don't think so. I'm a little surprised that Wattenberg is getting a lot of run at one over Forsyth so far. But I don't think so. I mean, you went and picked up Sam Musford. That's your free agent if you're going to go get one. He's got starting center experience. I think really it's down. I don't know who it's down to now. The way it sounds like Wattenberg is getting a lot of run there. I mean he is getting most of the snaps there. So,
right.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny, from outside perspective, is there the center market? Do you think the Broncos look to add anybody, or do you think that maybe they're starting centers in-house?
I think the center's in-house unless you run into injury problems. There's not much out there. I was just looking at the list. Knowing from experience, I think Nick Gates might be the one name I would look out for if you do run into some injury problems at that position. But I think it's in-house right now. Just don't know who it is. I think that is gonna be one of the competitions to look forward to see if it's Alex Forsythe or the other two guys. Now Forsythe played with Nick, so keep that in mind. So if Nick's ain't getting the starting job, it might not see Forsythe there neither. They might both, not to cut a little joke in there, but Peyton might have something against the Oregon Ducks. I don't know, but I think I would definitely pair Alex Forsythe up with Nick's, knowing their familiarity, and that would be my incumbent to start the season.
Yeah. One thing to note: Luke Wattenberg has actually been taking the reps at center. It seems like all the way back to OTA, Jody. If I'm not, not wrong there. I think that Wattenberg is the guy. I think that they have in place right now. It certainly seems like that. That he's the guy. So I don't feel, to answer your question, I do not think they're going to go out on the free market right now unless there's an injury that happens. I don't think so. I'm not even sure Sam Musford even makes the team, honestly. I think Forsythe, of course, will be on the team, but it sounds like that they were going to go with Wattenberg up to this point. We shall see if that changes. Maybe that changes in the preseason. But I don't think so. I think Wattenberg will be their guy going forward. I think it's pretty clear. They're giving him the consistent playing time with the starters. So, I think Connor Williams and I think Connor McGovern, I think those are two guys that are out there as well. I think Williams has a pretty significant injury. I'm not sure that they're going to go after McGovern again, former Denver Bronco. So again, I want to thank Phil for all the questions tonight. I want to thank everybody for all the questions tonight and for the awesome comments. Thanks for sticking with us tonight. We're up on the hour. We're a little bit over the hour, but I want to give, Jody and Kenny, give them a chance to give their final thoughts. Jody, we'll start with you. And please, again, thank you for joining us tonight. And, just please send us off in a great way on a great Friday night off Denver Bronco Roundup.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Another great show. Football is back, baby. Sean Payton, do the right thing and let Bo Nix get these reps with the one. He needs all the development he can. That's only going to make this team better. Stidham does nothing but waste time. And if Bo Nix is your starter week one, I think you'll see a competitive team out there, and this 31st ranked roster that everyone keeps saying, I just think that's clickbait.
Yeah, I agree. Here I'm going to go to Pearl, Kenny, before I go to you with your closing thoughts, and please make sure to plug K&K as well. Got Miss Pearl checking here. Hey, I made it. Hi all. Hi Pearl. Thanks for joining us tonight. I love to have you. So appreciate you joining us as always, and everybody joining us tonight. Kenny, want to give your final thoughts, and please again plug K&K. Really appreciate you being here with us tonight.
I can't appreciate enough you guys always inviting me, and likewise, you guys have the open invite for K&K. I'll just do a quick plug for K&K. I'll do the Wednesday nights that we do. We do shows almost, weekly, different shows, but Wednesday nights in general, we have a K&K sports show starts at, we're on the East Coast, so we do 8 o'clock East time, so it'd be 6 p.m. Mountain time. Cover all sports, all different teams, all sports, all questions and interactions welcome. But 8 p.m. Mountain time, 10 p.m. Eastern, my co-host, our friend in the posse, he's on vacation this week, Mr. Kurt Valenti, has his own Broncos show. Biggest fan on the East Coast, you'll find Denver Broncos by far. Brings a little East Coast flair into it, New York style show. It's called Let's Talk Broncos. Him and his lovely wife, Jen. Jen's the producer behind the scenes, and Kurt does the show live on the air. Definitely heated moments, some fun moments. You don't want to miss it, but I'll send you guys off on a positive note. Make Bo Nix your starting quarterback, even if you don't, if it doesn't work out and it turns out, then, you move on and you get younger and you got a rebuild coming. But Sean, stop hesitating. Somebody needs to put Sean on the spot. Is this a rebuild or a reload? What are we doing this year? Because if it's a semi-rebuild, then, Bo needs to start. If you think we're playoff caliber, then the best guy needs to be the quarterback. And I still think it's Bo. Just stop ending the games. Make Bo Bo leave, everybody, right? As the WWE wrestler Bo Dallas was saying, was Bo leave. So Bo leave and Bo, let's see where we are and start the season off. Bronco fans, you'll be all right. I'll predict a 10-win season from the Broncos, like Ernie said, maybe 11 as a happy birthday present for you, Ernie. So go 11-6 for the Broncos. Let's go, Broncos.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick, our stepfather, being positive. I love the positive vibes and thoughts. Again, I want to thank everybody in the posse tonight for just being positive, being great. Again, happy birthday to Ernie Mace out there. If you see him, if you have him on Facebook or anything, wish him happy birthday. I want to thank you, everybody, just for being great. Again, Phil for sending stars as always. We've missed Keith tonight, of course, but he should be back ready to go and ready to fire on Tuesday, as always. So appreciate everybody tonight. Again, better days are ahead for Broncos. They will be practicing tomorrow on Saturday, so that we'll probably hear some more news tomorrow as well. And we'll be ready to break it down better than ever on Tuesday. So I think that is going to do it for us tonight, guys. Just want to appreciate everybody for coming in, being awesome. You can posse. Again, you guys are the best fans. This is why we do it. Jody, Kenny, want to appreciate you guys as well. So we will see you guys on Tuesday night, 7:15 p.m.
Real quick, Phil's saying thanks for staying up late. It's early for me, Phil. I stay up all night, but since Keith's not here, we got to do our best. I can only do the first line, but you guys got to do the rest. Let's keep your guns in the holsters.
Jody, you remember the rest?
Jody and Trevor on the spot now.
Keep your feet in the
stirrups.
Feet in the stirrups.
You guys.
Man, yeah, I think you paid attention more.
And the Broncos in our heart.
I might be applying for a job, Keith.
Thanks for finishing on the spot, Kenny. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for everybody. Have a good night. Have a safe weekend, everybody. Again, thanks for staying up late with us. Appreciate you all. Happy birthday, Ernie Mays, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Well, the salute.